when you start to really incorporate all these things in, you start to build a better culture. You start to have a team that shows up for their own personal why. You pour into it and you start to see just greatness.
Today in the studio, we have Kate Houck. Kate is the Executive Director and Chief Energy Officer at David's Refuge. Kate has over 18 years of experience as a nonprofit leader, a community builder, and an innovative strategist. Kate, welcome to In the Studio.
Thank you so much. Excited to be here.
So I know a lot of your work has to deal with creating impactful relationships. Let's just start right there. What does an impactful relationship mean to you?
Man, it's the core, right? It's truly the foundation of every single thing that we do. If we as human beings don't have others in our life who are not just a part of our life or alongside the journey with us, they have to be actually involved in our lives. We have to know one another. We have to deeply be connected. This is something that goes back to the caveman days. I mean, this isn't rocket science. As human beings, we need others to fulfill many of the pieces that we can't do for ourselves. So impactful relationships to me mean that we have full trust, full transparency, and that we're actually able to deeply love one another. I think that word gets used and abused at times because really at the end of the day, love is at the core. Love is the reason we get up every day. It's the reason we do pretty much everything that we do. A love for oneself, a love for other humans. And so at the end of the day, it's everything. Everything revolves around deep human connection.
So as a leader, how do you set actions and how do you build a culture that resonates and creates impactful relationships?
So every single day, I look at times when people have asked me, Kate, what is your life's purpose? How intimidating is that question, right?
Yeah.
Right, James? Is that intimidating or what?
So it's a small question. What do you mean?
It's just a tiny little question that I just could never seem to answer. So what I did is I broke that down and I said, okay, if I can't figure that out today, that's okay. But what I can do is I can think about the way I approach every single day. And when you break things down, when you look at what is true leadership, what is truly being a good human at the end of your life, it's tiny, millions and millions and millions of tiny, small, right actions that all lead to the person you want to show up and be, lead to the way you want to make people feel after you leave a room. All these small actions can hopefully add up to maybe that life's purpose. So for me, the way that I build relationships, the way that I show up every day is through 3 words. I think about how I can be curious, because through curiosity, I will learn about other people. I will learn how to react in different ways that might fit other people in a better way and help them feel who I am deeply. So curiosity is a big core message I want everyone to think about today. How are you showing up and being curious instead of being dogmatic and pushing yourself on people? The second one is compassion, right? So every single day, have I left the room with an energy of compassion? Have I left you today feeling that I was truly a compassionate person who cares about you? Because if I do that every day, you're going to continue to give that back, which is selfish, I know, but I want compassion back. So if I give it, I'll give, take, all the things. It's okay. Give the right things, though. The third is contribution. When I put my head on the pillow at night, did I contribute? So if you think about these small actions and how they multiply out, you will start to see that true relationships are being built because you've shown up and you've shown curiosity. You've shown up, and when that person needed you, you were compassionate. And through that, true human connection and relationships are built.
I love that. So as a business owner, and probably a lot of people even listening or watching this, they're like, that sounds great, but my day is hectic. I'm moving at 1,000,000 hours per hour, and I have problems left and right and all of this kind of stuff. How do I actually stop and implement these things? Because I want to be a compassionate leader. Like, I go home thinking, how can I do better? How can I say things better? I'll write Slack messages to my team, and then I'll have to like stop and be like, you know what, actually, let me say that a little differently. But like, it's so hard in the moment as I'm just going through and I'm just trying to tackle these obstacles and to keep ahead of things. How do I stop, or how do I think about implementing these things when like my life is just like so hectic and crazy?
Man, I have a lot of things to say to this one. First and foremost, I ask you to really consider, how's that going for you? How is every time someone asks how you're doing, or every time an employee comes up to you, how is that response feeling for you when you say, I'm busy, I'm hectic? What does that even mean? You, James, you're hectic? You're busy? Is that how you want your family to walk away from you at the end of the day, being like, oh, the person I love the most in this world, they're really hectic, their energy is hectic, and they're super busy? Not at all what you want people to walk away feeling, right? So the first thing I do want to celebrate is the fact that you just said to me, I write an email, I write a Slack message, doesn't come out the way I want it to, and I go back and I read it again. That to me right there, to everyone out here listening, shows that you are taking a minute, which is really healthy, a pause, to make sure that the way you want the world to receive you is actually the way that you are communicating to the world. It's okay. I want everyone to hear this. It is okay for leaders to take a moment to react. The thing you have always in your power is the way you react. You can never, ever actually say, you made me mad. How can you physically, mentally, emotionally make me react? It's not possible. If you actually break it down, the biggest thing we have in our hands every single day is choosing how we react, how we spend our time. So let's rewind though, because I had to get that out. But
I love that, by the way.
The biggest thing that I want you to also feel empowered about is that we as leaders have been taught the wrong things all along. Why are we taught that emptying my cup onto your desk, into you, is the way that you're going to come out better? I walk in every day, and the way that I'm going to help my team grow is by being deflated and emotionally, mentally, physically, completely frazzled? I don't think so. So if we start every day remembering that the best way I can care for others, the best way I can show up for my team, the best way I can show up for my family, the best way I can live out my core values in life is to show up for myself first. It is not selfish. The most selfish thing to do is show up at your workplace or walk through your door at night and give your family and give your employees the worst parts of yourself. So what do you need to do every single day? What are your non-negotiables for yourself so that you can show up and be that person that you want to be, that you see, the person you admire most in this world? What are they doing every day to make that come out, that essence of who they are, that energy that they give? What are they doing? It doesn't just happen. They are intentionally living their life in a way that they're pouring into themselves first. So my non-negotiables, and no one's perfect at this, James. If someone's listening, they'll be like, Kate, you that one time came in and you were frazzled. Yes, I was. And I hope that I apologized for it. But what are my non-negotiables? Every day, my goal is to wake up, pour a cup of coffee.
That's definitely a non-negotiable for me as well.
Non-negotiable. But what does that cup of coffee mean? Is it giving yourself 5 minutes to settle your brain? Is it giving yourself, for me, it's giving myself a reason to sit at the counter and watch my kids, who are both teenagers, have their breakfast for 5 minutes. But you know what that does? It shows my kids that I have time to say good morning. How'd you sleep? What are your plans for the day? And I love you. It gives me that space. So that's a non-negotiable. Other non-negotiables. I'm going to take a walk every morning. I'm going to do a 15 to 20 minute workout. Not a run, not an intense. It could be Pilates. It could be yoga. It could be that workout that day is running outside in the backyard with my dog. But that's a non-negotiable for me because I know if I don't do that, I'm not going to show up to my employees in the best way possible. So I would just encourage you that you need to think about what are those small building blocks to getting to the place you want to be as a leader. It's not going to happen overnight, but start small and build new habits that will get you to the place you want to be.
Wow, that was fantastic. Is this something that you've always had in you? Or is this something happened to you at a point in your life where you're just like, you know what, something's got to change? Or did you stumble on this? How did you start implementing this in your life?
I would say no. This is not the Kate that, in running, I used to run a different nonprofit organization, more of a corporation, if you will. They were not a culture of people first. Our clients were the first and foremost, and raising the money needed was first and foremost, but the people who actually made the mission happen, I wouldn't say were put first. And when I came into David's Refuge, that was really the hamster wheel I needed to get off. And the founders of David's Refuge would say things to me that blew my mind. Like, Kate, you just worked till 10 o'clock last night. Why are you here? It's 8 in the morning. I was like, well, what do you mean? I have to be here. I have to be frantic. I have to be worried. I have to be stressed all the time. And our mission at David's Refuge is to promote self-care and wellness in caregivers, to prevent caregiver burnout. And here I was their first full-time staff member, not showing up that way every day. And then as I slowly took on more of a leadership role at David's Refuge, I learned that I needed to emulate our mission in the way I showed up for our team, in the way I managed our team. And I think that it was really just slow, small, intentional changes in habits that got me to where I am today. And I have a tenured staff. I absolutely love showing up to work every day and working on this mission. I absolutely love the way that I'm able to put time into myself every day without guilt. And so I guess for you, I would say, ask yourself, if you're a leader who feels like this is not something that you can do, I would really encourage you to start to just take really small steps. The first step for you might be writing down all the things that are keeping you from that goal that you seek, that mission, that culture, that team, that leadership, that piece that you're really feeling like, I want to get there. Well, write that down and write down where you are today. And also realize that you have not failed. You can always, a really wise person told me this. I feel like I was going around, like you said before, I was going around and I was cutting people's heads off. And I was just feeling like that was how I needed to show up, to say I'm a leader. I'm a leader because I'm like short and I'm hot and sweaty all the time and I'm stressed. And I was really not creating the team that I wanted. I wasn't being the Kate I wanted to be. And what she said to me is, Kate, you have the right and the ability to go back and say you're sorry for that. And if you've built the right people around you, they're going to accept it and they're going to embrace the goals you've set and they're going to help you get there through feedback.
You know, I have a very similar journey to that and something I'm obviously still going through. I think these principles that you're talking about are something that should always be implemented and thought about. But when I started 325, I was just a filmmaker doing this by myself. And then we decided to actually make it a company and start hiring people. And then for the last 5 years, it's just been, we're going to take videos. We're going to make money for that. We're going to make videos. That was it. And then I read a lot of books. Maybe I had the same moment maybe that you're having a little bit, but you know, it's really hard to start a company because I have no idea where to go. I always tell people I'm a stupid filmmaker, you know, and now I know how to do that. I've been doing that for 35 years, and now I have to learn how to be a leader and a business owner and a filmmaker and an editor and all these things. So I think the best advice that I have from this, you know, starting a company is to create that mission. And it always sounded so silly to me. I thought I was just too cool. Like, I don't need a mission. I'm just making cool videos. Like, that's my mission, you know?
Yeah.
But then after just reading a lot of books and just coming kind of like, what are we doing? Like, it can't just be we're making videos because videos are cool and we're making money because money is cool. Like that doesn't work.
No.
So what is the mission? And so we spent a lot of time last year and going into this year actually creating a mission and a goal and a vision. Like, what are we doing? What are we trying to accomplish? And that's definitely gave me a lot of peace.
Yes.
Okay, like I know we're getting here, and yeah, like, you know, we still want our videos to be perfect, we want our product to be great, we want our customers to be happy, but where are we going? What are we doing with that? And so it's not so life and death every single day, which is pretty much what my life has been for the last 35 years. You know, it's either this video sucks or this video is great. You know, hate me or love me. And that's pretty much been it. But now it's like, okay, this didn't work, but let's figure it out so we can make a solution so it goes towards our bigger mission and vision.
Right.
But with that, my next question here is, we've also done that for 8 years where we're just on this grind mindset and, you know, showing up late and showing up early and just getting it done and staying until, like, that is the culture that we built. So now I'm like, no, let's not do that anymore. Let's focus on the bigger mission. So how do you as a leader work with your team to either change a certain direction with people, or to even just like make sure that when you bring on a new team member that they understand what the mission and vision and values are?
Yeah. Wow. You know, there's a lot of things to unpack in this. I think the first one is that I commend you for creating that mission, right? That guiding light, that North Star is what I always call it, is what you can go back to whenever there's an issue, whenever there's a problem within your team. You can all go back to that one statement and look at all the pieces. What are the holes in what we just did, and why don't they relate back to that mission? The next piece for you and your team may be to create a vision, right? The mission statement is what you do. The vision statement is where you're headed. So the vision statement is really a great practice. And at this point, one that you would bring your entire team around the table for, to really create that larger piece, that one statement that every single one of you can go out in the community and you can say, where we're headed is much larger than where we are today. And these are the reasons we're doing it. These are the reasons we need to continue to show up every day. So for David's Refuge, our vision is to become a community nationally recognized for empowering caregivers to lead their families with strength and grace. When we say that out loud as a team and we say that to local people, they're like, are you telling me I'm going to be part of something that's going to be nationally recognized someday? So there's excitement in that. But the thing about pulling your team in and making sure everyone's around the table for it is this collaborative approach to leadership, right? I always thought that I had to have all the answers, and then I would tell the team, and I even knew what they were thinking. I know what drives you to come to work every day. I know all the answers. And I thought that's what being a great leader looked like. And that's, as we both know, very much not what leadership is all about, right? So when you really start to build, so starting with that vision statement, but then also meeting with each and every person on your team and asking them, what are their reasons for showing up to work every day? Do you as a leader truly know why Paul comes to work every day? And if you gave him a list of 10 different reasons most Americans go to work every day, would you try to rank his 1 to 10, 1 being his most important reason and 10 being the least, and see you do the exercise and have Paul bring it into you, anyone on your team, and see how far off you are? If you're really far off, then you have some growth areas. The other piece about really building a team that wants to come to work every day, that knows their why, is doing a collaborative approach to reviews. So the number one thing that leaders miss, I think, is, one, your team wants FaceTime with you. You know, you are not supposed to be up in the balcony all the time. Yes, being in the balcony is really healthy for your organization. You need to be looking down all the time. You need to be seeing what's happening on the field. That's how you can best make the calls, help move the ball forward. But at times, your team absolutely needs you. That's why, if you hired them, that's why they show up every day. One of the reasons, you know, they want FaceTime with the person that brought them into the team, that's leading the team, that's driving the vision and the culture. And, at the end of the day, when you bring them in for that review time, for me, it's once a month with every staff member and then an annual review. The annual review is also collaborative. It's looking at the staff member and looking at the traits that they possess and the skills that they bring to the table, and us rating those skills and those traits, and then using an approach that is collaborative. I keep saying that word, and I hope you hear it. You have to say something 7 times for someone to hear it, by the way.
I say the same exact thing. Everyone back here on the cameras is probably laughing because I've said that same exact thing.
How many times I've said that word today. But if you work with your staff and you say, oh my gosh, a growth area for you is to develop your influence. Now, let's take that word out and I agree fully, because if everyone on my team has influence and everyone can state our vision statement and everyone can walk out in the community and speak about David's Refuge, that is influence. So how can I not now show up every day to support your vision to become more influential? What TEDx, what have I listened to? What podcasts, what books have I read that will help you towards your goals? It's not me telling you what the goals are. So I think that when you start to really incorporate all these things in, you start to build a better culture. You start to have a team that shows up for their own personal whys. And then you as leader know the why. And you can just pour into that. You pour into it and you start to see just greatness.
So real quick, I want to touch on the telling someone 7 things before they actually get it, right? So that was always a weird concept for me. And as a leader, or as a not knowing leader, a person running this organization, I would always be like, hey, I told you how to do this. Why are you not hearing me? And then I would get really frustrated because I'm like, I thought I laid it out, it's in writing, and then you immediately just didn't do that. And as soon as I understood that you have to tell someone 7 times to get it, and in different mediums, like maybe text or video, because people just learn things different ways, it really kind of settled me for that, which I think is a core part of this conversation for me. Is just kind of settling me because I'm so moving forward. But with the 7, telling someone 7 times, instead of saying, hey, I told you this before, now I'm saying, hey, I only told you this 2 times. So clearly I need to tell you more because I haven't given you enough education and training to get you to what I want to do. So yeah. I've allowed my staff or my team to fail. Right. And I think that's huge for me, giving them a point to fail. And just one more little tangent on that. My new favorite thing is, especially someone that's starting off here new at 325, because there's no way they're going to know our brand. There's no way they're going to know exactly how to do everything. And so I encourage them to fail. Mm-hmm. So I say, okay, great. Take 10 photos on set and then bring it back to me. But I want 60% of those to not be good. Mm. I want to see what 60% doesn't look, because you're going to learn so much more from those failures, and you're going to learn from positive. And it's so tough for people to fail, especially when they start working at 325, in the beginning, or any organization. Yeah. Are you telling me they want to come in here and make a big splash? Right. And I'm just no, I want to see, how it fails. I
mean, it goes into one of my favorite sayings is, I am not a drop of water. I am the ocean. I think there's this mentality that we can function as a team without having everyone on the team function as a team. And I actually don't think that's possible. If I've had team members that aren't as open to the type of coaching that I like to give, and for them, I just bring them into a different speed. We don't go full force at the first meeting of tell me everything you want in life. But I think the other piece for us is, and me and my leadership style is, as much as possible, I want the James at home to be the same James that shows up. I think about this, if you showed up at my door Saturday morning to drop off a copy of this, like in the old days when we dropped off a CD or something so you could listen to it, you would get the same Kate Houck as you're getting right here, right? And so I think that there's something to be said about someone coming into your office and saying, when I come here, I just want to work. I don't have any interest in growth. I don't have any interest in development. I probably tend to hire people who are more growth mindset people who live in a constant perpetual state of learning and how can I make this better and how can I ask questions. So they're automatically more driven to that style of leadership as well. But if I were you, I would break it down to more of, okay, if you don't want to talk about professional goals today, what are some of your personal goals? Everyone has to have personal goals, right? I mean, I would hope. Do they go home and also have no desire to do anything different? It's quite possible, but already knowing you through just this 30 minutes, I would guess you don't have a lot of people like that. And I think a lot of successful companies out there in Syracuse don't have a lot of people on their team like that. So if they don't want to be open about goals at work, what are their personal goals? And then how do those break down? So if their personal goal is health related, how does that personal goal and the things and the traits and the skills they need to develop themselves to be a more healthy person at home, how does that relate to some of the things that they're doing at work every day? So you can, in your infinite wisdom as a leader, somehow attach those pieces for them and pull out what comes after you boil that all down. You know, if I want to go to the gym every day and that's my goal, that's my non-negotiable, well, what does that mean for the way that I show up for my goals when I'm given goals at work or when I set goals at work? Do I stick to my plans or do I falter? So I think you can start to look at some of the similarities, even if they're not willing to talk about it in a professional sense quite yet. And then they will come along. They will.
Good. That's great advice. So we talked a lot about leadership, and I want to talk about the genuine connections. You know, I feel like now more than ever, it's really tough to make an authentic connection because people are making connections through social media and they're not maybe connecting fully or just kind of, just kind of passing through life a little bit, I feel, with their connections, including myself. It's really hard to make authentic connections and lifelong friends or authentic connections with team members. I don't know how you want to take that, but how in this current climate and culture, like how do you, or what advice do you have for people to actually develop authentic relationships?
Yeah, so for me, it really comes down to fast forwarding these surface level conversations. If you and I were having coffee right now, I would very much not be asking you about, the weather or what you did yesterday. I like to get through what they call the levels of intimacy, and it's intimacy on a communication level. Let's just make that point very clear. But every single connection you make, what if you approached it with my first goal here is to get to know this person, instead of, okay, I'm meeting with this new client and my hope is that they're going to sign us on as a new person. We're going to create all their video content. We're going to do their social media and we're going to do all these things. If I approached every new meeting with a person who might want to come into the family at David's Refuge as what I want to get out of them, then I'm going to completely miss getting to know the human being, right? So when you approach conversations, I will very quickly fast forward through fact, opinion, cliche level conversation and get to what I really want to know about. I want to know about what your hopes and dreams are. I want to know about your biggest failure in life and how you got through it. I want to know what you hope, what excites you the most about your life at this moment. And those questions can seem so big, but they're really not, because at the end of the day, isn't that what we all want to grab onto? Like, I guarantee that you really don't care, where I think of something so superficial, so surface level. Those things, there's reasons that those conversations don't ever take off is because no one actually cares.
Yeah. Or they had that same conversation, 10 times this week.
Right.
And let's just move past
Instead of, how are you doing today? Why don't you say, hey, what's the most exciting thing you have going on today? You're right there moving from how are you to good or bad to the most exciting thing. Well, you're going to tell me that later today you're going and you're going to see a great friend. Launching point for me. Oh my gosh, how long have you known this person? Oh, I knew them from my college days. Oh my gosh, where did you go to college? You went there. So you're giving yourself things to like almost think of it as like leapfrog, right?
Yeah.
Like instead of staying right here and staying stagnant in this conversation, I'm going to ask a question that's going to get me more information. And then I'm going to leap over to that. And I'm going to really listen to you. And notice all in this, I have not taken the ball yet. I've not said, oh my gosh, you went to Cortland? Oh my gosh, well, I went to Cortland. Let me tell you all about me. Keep asking those questions. So when you went to Cortland, what was your degree? What did you love about that degree? What was your best college experience? You can rattle off, but sometimes these practices, they have to be trained. They don't just come natural to people. So my suggestion to you would be write down some of those questions. And before you go into a meeting with that new, awesome potential client that you're going to become part of one another's lives and it's going to be amazing and you're going to grow together, before you go in there, write down 3 to 5 questions that will get you to the next point of understanding who they are as a human being. And if you don't walk out of there with that detail, then the relationship, I would say, who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah. We always say here, people do business with people.
Yes.
That's the end of the conversation. And people want to know other people. Like I do think that most humans crave connections and want to talk to people and hear about people and, talk to them about everything that they're going on, and everything that's going on in their life and hear about other things. And we are social creatures, but it's just become a little bit harder to get there. So I like that, just kind of like cutting through that, but bringing something to the table and just like, presenting things. I watched this one video where this person was talking about like a networking event. And so most people just say, hey, how are you? Nice to meet you. And I'm James. And like, that's pretty much it. But he's like, when you go into that thing, say, hey, nice to meet you. I'm James. I'm a owner of 325 Productions. And I also went to SUNY Fredonia and I'm happy to be here. And then that gives them something to actually be like, okay, I like this part. That was interesting. Let me talk more about that.
Exactly.
And so you're giving them something that we can relate about and you're giving them something that we can talk about versus just like two humans just kind of being like, hi.
Absolutely.
And not knowing where to go from there.
Absolutely. But I think the biggest piece to remember is you have to genuinely listen and you have to genuinely want to know the answers to what they're telling you. So
Be
even
curious.
if I'm asking you all these questions, if I'm not listening, if I'm still thinking, oh my gosh, I hope you're going to give a donation to David's Refuge. If that's all I'm thinking in the back of my mind as you're telling me your life story, then I'm completely missing the boat here. You have to, I really like that visual of I am throwing James the ball and I want James to hold the ball. As soon as I start talking more than James, now he's thrown the ball back to me or I've stolen the ball from him and now it's about me. So really have that visual in your head of like, I want that person because my goal today is to get to know them. I want them to hold the ball as long as possible in this conversation. And how can I keep throwing questions, authentic questions, genuinely caring about the answer questions, but how can I keep throwing them so that I learn the most I possibly can about this person at the end of the day, right? Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So talking about questions, we have 3 questions that we end every podcast with. All right. So the first question is, do you have a favorite book that you would like to recommend?
I have my most favorite book, and it's a really simple read. So it's called The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse, and it's by Charlie Maxey. It's an easy read. It's a quick read, but it really goes down. If you boil down this talk today, I hope all of the messages in that book really come out in everything I say. I believe it, and it's a beautiful story.
All right. Second question. What keeps you passionate?
I go back to that word of contribution. It drives me every day to know that I could show up in any way, shape, and form and contribute to the life of someone else in a deep and meaningful way. Oh, man, isn't that just the best? So I'm going to go back to that word. Yeah.
Love it. What excites you most about Central New York?
It's my home. What could be better than being deeply rooted in a community, having people who love you, having people you can turn to, being able to show up every day, being respected in a community, being someone that other people want to know. And I've been here my entire life, and I choose every single day to love it. I love the weather. I love my home. I love everything about this place. And it's my home. Yeah.
In this podcast, you've talked about so many great things, from leadership and building a culture and finding great team members and cultivating that. I think there's so many nuggets that our audience is going to walk away with. So thanks for coming on the show. If you are interested in finding out more about Kate and connecting with Kate, you can follow her on LinkedIn at Kate Houck. And I strongly encourage everyone to check out David's Refuge, and you can go to davidsrefuge.org for that. As far as us, we're going to be having new shows here every Monday, so be sure to tune in for that. So once again, thanks, Kate.
Thank you.